Fabulous. Welcome back, everyone. Just waiting for last few people to settle in, and we will kick off another really special session. So, question. How many of you here in the room are on Twitter? I'm expecting everyone. Yes! Loving it. So you are in a treat right now because we have a really special speaker coming up. We have Mei King, who is a keynote speaker. She's a live tweeter. She's a special Twitter specialist. And also she loves tea and tea puns. So I'm sure we will see a little bit more of what she's capable to do with tea and Twitter. So please give a really warm welcome to Mei King.
Sorry about that.
Should be off.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's all good, yeah. Oh, fabulous! Let's all sit down. Oh no, they're still massaging. Get my room. So, my name is Mei King Tsang. My first name is Mei King, and I have a business called Making Tea. So, in the industry, they call this the graveyard shift. We've had our lunch, we're settling in, bit of a snooze, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a massage, a bit of love in the room, so we can get the energy levels back up. We're going to be talking about Twitter, and many of you are on Twitter, which is fantastic. I love it. It's great. Preaching to the converted. We're going to get you to be much better than what you currently are, though. So, I said my name is Mei King Tsang. My first name is Mei King. Please don't call me Mei, otherwise I might slap you with a wet tea leaf. I'm not joking either. These are some of the successes that I've had on Twitter. So, over on the right, I've been back in the country for 2 years. And I worked very hard. Like Natalie was saying, I was more strategic, more focused in my Twitter strategy. And within 3 months, I got headhunted by Google. And they asked me to help hundreds of business owners to get more strategic with social media. I was in Australia for 6 years before that, and this was me in the Great Australian Barbecue, and I was on TV, and I got headhunted on Twitter for that. Over on the left here, it was National Tea Day, April the 28th. And a journalist went on Twitter, anybody know any tea experts? Ping, 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 you've got to talk to Making Tea. And so I got a request to appear on Sky News, Sunrise, to talk about tea. And I'm also a published author on Twitter, and probably my proudest moment in Australia. I didn't know a single person before I got there, worked very hard to get known. And I worked with Tsang, who is an international artist. He was responsible for the opening and closing of the Beijing Olympics. How cool was that? I got to work with that guy. And I served 70,000 cups of Chinese tea to the Gallery of Modern Art. So that's me, the black dress and the pink trim, serving tea to a lot of people coming to the conference, to the art gallery there. Now, I'm not saying all of that to show off, maybe just a little bit. I'm saying it to hopefully inspire you, to help you understand that anybody can do it with just a little bit of focus, the right mindset, and a lot of hard work. I had to start my business from scratch when I came back to the UK 2 years ago, and I managed to achieve some of this. And so I'm going to help you how to do that too. But before we move on, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Why Twitter? So I'll do a few stats about what Twitter is all about. We're also going to talk about how to become an authority. As Lenka mentioned, I love my tea puns. So if I hear any groans in the room, you'll understand why. I'll understand. We're all about building a community as well. So, a few of the speakers, Pippa talked about Twitter chats, Natalie talked about Twitter chats. This is how you can actually build your own community as well as someone else's. So there was a great question earlier in the crowd of whether to create your own Twitter chat or be part of someone else's. And you can actually do both. I'll talk more about that later on. So let's talk about some stats, shall we? Statistics. So 328 million users. 328 million users worldwide. There are 13 million in the UK. That is 1/5 of the population, guys. How cool is that? We're tweeting today. We're trending. There are loads of people who are actually seeing your tweets today. How awesome is that? The biggest thing about Twitter is that this is where journalists hang out. As I said, when someone said, does anyone know a tea expert? I had lots of people saying, you've got to talk to Making Tea. I had to work very hard to build that, of course, okay? Anyone done networking before, networking at events? And you highly recommend, services to other people? You can do that on social media, you can do that on Twitter. But you had to work very hard to get known in the first place, and that's what I'm going to help you to do today. And finally, 67% of users are more likely to buy from a brand that's on Twitter. So if you're not on Twitter, you're missing a great trick. It establishes your authority already by being on Twitter. Does that make sense? Cool. How do you use Twitter? Like this? I know I did. When I first started, I did, buy my tea, buy my services, buy my stuff, like me, please like me, please like me. Is that going to work? No. Does anyone like being sold to? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? No, we don't like being sold to. We had to prove ourselves as a brand. And the first thing as us business owners need to do is to see ourselves as a brand. Now, can I ask a question of somebody? When was the last time you bought something? Can anyone raise a hand if you bought anything today or yesterday? Anybody? Great. Now, can I ask you, lovely lady, do you mind tell me what you bought? If it's not internet, is that okay? You bought a book that was recommended on Twitter. I love that, a feminist cycling book. I love it, great. So it got recommended, okay, and you bought it. You probably did a bit of research or you loved it instantly, but we bought from that book because it became recommended to us, because we know the brand, we like it, we did a bit of a Google search. Does that make sense? So we had to do, as a business owner, we had to do all those bits and pieces. We had to build our know, like, and trust factor. If I said to you today, buy my tea, you're probably going to say, no thanks, Making. But if I build your trust, and if you like me, hopefully you'll like me, then maybe you'll buy my tea in time. And that's the big step that a lot of business owners are missing right from the start. We have to build our brand. We need to see ourselves as a brand. We need to establish our authority, build our community, okay? So this is just a little summary of what we talked about, building our brand, and we need to see ourselves as a brand. Now, I want to be memorable. I want to be known, okay? So that's why I do my little tea puns, community, making tea. Hopefully it will raise a smile. Hopefully you will like me, but it's actually part of my brand. I wear a teapot ring. Normally I'm wearing Doc Martens that actually have tea all over my Doc Martens. Okay, so I'm all about my brand. So what can you do to wear your brand? What can you do on Twitter when you're talking? Okay, Jay Bear talked about this at the weekend. He talked about your talk trigger. So what kind of language, what kind of tone do you use Is it comedic? Is it loud? Is it brash? Is it controversial? How can you portray your brand on Twitter and be consistent with it? Does that make sense? We need to establish our authority. I've just noticed a typo. It's authority, isn't it? I spelled that wrong. So we need to establish our authority. Okay, now officially, on paper, I'm one of the top 50 speakers, recommended speakers of tea in the world. But I can't tell you that. I can't say I'm one of the top 50 speakers of tea in the world. You're not going to believe me. I had to prove it. So I need to share documents. I need to share great articles about tea. I need to answer questions. Natalie talked about Q&As. Do Q&As about tea and educate people about tea. In doing that, I can establish leadership. Okay, there's lots of tea speakers in the world, but I'm the #1 tea note speaker. Okay, but I can establish my leadership by sharing of articles, going into my tea industry and sharing their articles as well, because no one just likes the sound of their own voice, okay? So I share other people's articles. And then finally, you can become an influencer. So influencer marketing is a term that people have been bantered, that has been bantered around for a bit. And if you are a leader in your industry, it is possible for you to become an influencer. So I actually get lots of tea sent to me on a regular basis. It's no great hardship, but I had to drink it all and try it. But, you know, if people are my friends, then I can share that and tag these people into Twitter. I even got a kettle by Morphy and Richards, who have partnered with Brita Filter to produce this amazing kettle. They gave that to me, and I did a quick video and reviewed it. It was so cool. So you can build your own brand to become an influencer in your industry. It does take time, though. So it starts with branding. And it takes about 7 seconds to impress somebody. We've all done it. We're on our phone. We're swiping left. No, sorry, that's dating. Sorry, we're swiping up. We're swiping up, okay? And something will capture our attention, correct? Then we start reading it, don't we? So we need to be that center of attention. How can we capture people's attention? Now, I had a Loud Crowd agency who are filming the workshops today, the seminars today. They've got a graphic design department who did this cover board. So on Twitter, when you click on my profile, that big billboard, it tells you exactly what I do on the tin. I'm a keynote speaker, I'm a Twitter strategist, etc. Okay? I also have my photograph on the left-hand side there. I'm showcasing Cambridge Social Day, okay? And there's a few pictures of me in action. Okay, so that's one of the ways in which you can create a cover page. People have talked about, I think Nicole talked about Canva earlier. You can create a cover page like that if you can't afford a graphic designer. There are a few graphic designers hanging around though, aren't there? Any graphic designers in the room? Yeah, okay. So go and talk to these people if you need a cover page done. Anybody know these guys? No. They're amazing. Aren't they amazing? But their branding is amazing. The back of the cover page, you can quite clearly see what it is they do. They have a membership, a tonic membership. They've written books. Their books are amazing. And you can see that their follow button is also on brand as well. It's pink. Their corporate colours. It's pretty cool, hey? Now, once you've created your cover page and your photograph, when you're creating a Twitter account for the first time, it'll ask you, what is it that you do? So you've got 160 characters to write about what you do. Now, up at the top there, I tell people that making is my first name, that I'm a keynote speaker, consultant, etc., etc. And I also put in a couple of hashtags in there. Now, I was actually watching the tweets earlier, and Simon, who was speaking earlier today, he actually said, don't put hashtags in your bio, and I can understand why. I did, so I just thought I'd experiment. So you can decide what you want to do and what not to do. We all have our different ways of working. But I'll talk more about hashtags and why they are important later. Now, underneath that, I always put in a website. The number of Twitter accounts I have seen that doesn't have a website is quite astonishing. And if you want people to get to know who you are and want to buy from you eventually, you need your website there. Now, if you don't have a website, and I don't actually at the moment, don't worry about it. You've got all your socials. So, if you prefer to use Instagram, for example, put your Instagram link in there. Or your LinkedIn profile. Or you can use one-page websites like about.me and put in a profile of what it is you do. But always make sure that you do have a website there. This chap is going to be following me after my talk, and he's also an amazing guy, does things on brand, okay? So again, his buttons are dark blue, that's part of his brand. What he also has done is he's the author of 7 books. Okay, and his 7th book is called Social Media Networking. It's an amazing book. There you go. It really is an amazing book, and so he is definitely on brand. I was a bit starstruck when I met him for the first time because I admired him on Twitter from afar for years before I actually got to meet him, and now I stalk him. I'm his social conference buddy. Okay, so we've created our brand, we've created our biography. Now Twitter will say, well, what kind of stuff do you like? And we need to build, as Nicole mentioned earlier, our personal brand. So what is it that we like? What are our interests? And then Twitter will actually give you suggestions on who to follow, just to get you started, okay? Now, Twitter is like one big party. Anyone been to a party before? Surely we've all been to a party. Yes, surely we have, yeah? Yeah? All of our hands should be up at this moment. Yes, yeah, good. So, we've been to a party, we've gone to the bar, person next to us starts talking to us. Going to be a bit sexist, a bit easier for us women. Love your handbag, love your shoes. With the blokes, grunt. No, I'm only kidding. No, but they may talk about beer or something like that, again, being sexist. But if you're at a networking party, then if the person who was talking to you was lovely enough, then what they may do is say, would you like to follow me and come to my circle of friends? Okay? And that's what Twitter can do for you. So it actually gives you suggestions on people you follow. And have you ever been to a party where you're talking in a circle and 2 people are talking but everyone else is listening? Yeah? Ever been in that situation? That's Twitter. Okay? So whilst you're talking, there's so many people listening. But if you're not on Twitter in the first place, you may not get to listen to the conversation. Okay? So we follow people, we start engaging, we start talking to people. Now, I get it. Bit of a noisy place, Twitter, isn't it? And you think, oh, I'm not interested in celebrities, what they're having for dinner, who's split up with who. Certainly not interested in Trump, right? But that's okay. You can concentrate and decide who you want to listen to. So Twitter lists are a fantastic way of drowning out the noise and just focusing on the people that you want to listen to. So I went to Social Media Marketing Conference, Social Media Marketing World in San Diego earlier this year. That's the first time I stalked Tim. And I wanted to listen to the speakers, but carry on listening to them. I also made some friends there as well. I wanted to keep them separate. So I created a list of the Social Media Marketing World friends and Social Media Marketing World speakers. Now, all of my lists are public, but if you believe in competition, okay, if you think you've got a few competitors out there, you can have a look at what they do. You can create a list and make it private. Cue evil laugh. Okay? So you can actually watch what your competitors are doing and be inspired by them. Don't copy them, just make it better. Okay? So lists are amazing for drowning out the noise and just focusing on who you want to talk to. So, you could actually search for the hashtag that we've been using all day today, so CSN Day 2018, and have a look at the people who've been tweeting and maybe add them into a list perhaps, and then engage into a conversation with them. Okay? So this is my cute evil laugh competition slide there that I've already talked about. So, we've created our cover page, we've done our brand, we've done our biography, we started following people. Now let's get some action going. So we want to write about our industry, and we can write it on our website, or we can write it directly in our tweets. Now that we've got 280 characters to play with, it's a great place to do a mini tweet, a mini blog, really. And underneath your tweet, you can add tweets, and you can have 5 tweets in one row if you want to, which is pretty awesome. So, as I mentioned, I'm part of the Specialty Tea Institute, one of their top 50 recommended speakers of tea, but I had to prove it. So I started writing on my own blog, started tweeting about it. I got people, blog sites who asked me, can I write for them? So I did. Some companies wanted me to write, but as if I was them, so I ghost blogged. Okay, and this is great because I was able to share not just my content, I was able to share teaching, their content. The English blog store is a blog in America. And then when I create a tweet, think of it like a news headline. So I want to try and create a headline that makes people click on it. So with this particular tweet, I put, what is the healthiest tea? Check out my latest blog. It may surprise you. Ooh, hopefully you'll click on it. So this is how you can establish your authority, okay, by writing blogs, sharing it, and sharing other people's blogs as well. Now, what you may want to do is also be interviewed. So this is a lovely lady, Asian fusion girl. She wanted to interview specialists around the world who happened to be Asian in their particular industry. Now at the time, I think I had maybe 1,000 followers, and she had 50,000. And when she approached me, I was like, oh my God. She got interviewed by Larry King. Oh my God. She was amazing. She wanted to interview me. So I did an interview, and it's probably one of my most popular interviews that I've done. It gets shared and retweeted. Back in the day in Google+. Do you remember Google+, anybody? But it still gets shared now on Twitter, because I share a bit of personal stuff in there, my upbringing, my strict upbringing with my parents, and all that kind of stuff. So it shows a little bit about me as well as my tea journey. And then, I keep talking about this Tim guy who's coming after me. He interviewed me about writing a book. I've been procrastinating for so many years about writing a book. But this year, I decided I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be accountable. So he is my accountability buddy. So he committed a date for me to write my plan for November the 22nd, to write the plan for my book. And in this podcast, we actually talked about which book I was going to write first, because I've got about 7 or 8. They're all in 7 different Google Docs, about a page each into one of them, and that kind of stuff. So check out his podcast. It's amazing. Okay, so we don't just want to write our own stuff and publish our own stuff. Go into your industry and share their stuff as well, okay? I personally don't believe in competition. I think there's enough for everybody. So I will actually try and help other tea companies out as much as I can. These guys, Mad Hatter Tea, they actually live in Lewis Carroll country. It's amazing, and they often have these parties and stuff like that. Now, I don't just talk about tea, because if I did, that'd be boring. But there are drinks that have antioxidants as well as tea. So I like my beer, I do like my beer, and I like wine. So I talk about things like that. I went to a charity fundraiser, and I won a bottle of red wine. Amazing. So I tweeted about that, and hopefully to raise awareness about the charity so that they can hopefully get more money. So these are the kind of things that you can talk about. Don't just talk about what is in your industry, talk about related industries. Okay, so, in tea, I want to attract people who like good food, good wine, good whiskey, good gin. My name is Making Tsang. I'm hoping to making sangria next year, an alcoholic and a non-alcoholic version. So, there's lots of things that you can talk about related to your industry. Do talk about that kind of stuff. Now, has anybody lurked on social media? We've all done it. Come on, all your hands should be up at this point. We've all gone on our smartphone and we've looked up and we keep looking, and then eventually we'll find something. Now, if you don't comment on something that you've really enjoyed reading, you're doing that person a disservice. Okay, it's like someone absolutely rocking it on stage and then you don't say a thing to them. Okay, you don't clap, you don't say thank you or anything like that. And the speaker themselves, they may not know how well they've done. So if you don't tell them or give them feedback, then they may crumble and think, oh, it was an actual terrible performance. So think about when you're on Twitter, if you've read something, you thought it was profound, and you thought it was interesting, just give them a bit of thanks. Just be human about it. And that's how you can get a conversation going. And when you get a conversation going, remember, we're in that party where two people are talking and lots of people are listening. And if you're showing gratitude to somebody, when you're saying thanks to that person, then someone else might be lurking and watching your tweets and thinking, gee, that lady's a nice person. That guy's a really nice person. And they may engage in a conversation with you. Does that make sense? So try not to be a lurker. Try and be, get out into the conversation. In the very least, share what you liked, okay? Now, take a picture of this, please, because this is a 30-day, 1 minute, I did a 1-minute video for 30 days giving advice on how to become better on Twitter and social media. It is case sensitive. And I've titled it, Don't Be a Lurker. Now, there's an obvious, it's well obs, okay, obvious mistake, okay? So if you've got a spare 5-10 minutes and you can watch the videos, there's an obvious mistake. And what I'd like you to do is to tell me what that mistake is, and I'll send you some tea. How's that sound? Anybody? If you don't like tea, and I know there are a few people who may and may not like tea, if you prefer to talk to me about Twitter strategy, then I can give you a half hour of my time as well. Okay, so do take a picture of that and tell me what the really obvious mistake is. Okay, big fan of making mistakes, hashtag making mistakes. I even wrote a blog about it. Okay, now, when you get into a conversation, you don't need to talk to the same people all the time, but really try and flatter somebody if you can, because people love to be complimented. So as I mentioned, normally I wear these docks, and these Doc Martens have got tea, cups of tea on the docks, and it was created by this amazing woman called Wild Bunny Arts. Please say hello to her. Take this picture and say, Making was telling the world how amazing you are. Now, I bought a present for my sister, and my sister was born in the year of the tiger. So I had Wild Bunny Arts create a picture of a tiger on a t-shirt, and she used Chinese calligraphy pens to do it. It was so amazing. Anyway, Wild Bunny Arts saw a picture of a tiger on a pair of Doc Martens and tagged my sister and said, saw this and thought of you. So she just started a conversation. She wasn't trying to sell. She wasn't saying, hey, I've got a pair of Doc Martens. I can totally put a tiger on that. No, she didn't. She was just being nice and saying, saw this and thought of you. But it started a conversation going. Now, anybody read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? Hopefully, this should be everyone in the room. This is an amazing, amazing book for business. It tells you about how to listen, how to truly listen. I don't mean waiting patiently for the person to finish what they want to say so you can interrupt them. I mean truly listen. And when you do some truly social listening, magic happens, okay, by complimenting people, engaging with people, talking to people, and not necessarily about what it is you do. Hashtags. Okay, now, you may have seen me tweeting like a fury today, maybe. And sometimes people think, gosh, she's a bit rude. She's on her phone all the time. What I'm doing is tweeting, and I'm showcasing wherever I'm at. I was at a conference early this year called Marketed Live. The guy who's created Marketed Live is right there. He's a beautiful soul. He's actually part of the speaking panel later. And he had a competition. Who can live tweet the most? Well, I love competitions. So you can see that my name's up at the top, and I did 5 more tweets more than everyone else. It's pretty cool. Now, I'm not saying that to show off, maybe a little bit. The reason I do that, though, is to really showcase where I'm at, because I want to associate my Making Tea brand with the most amazing Marketed Live brand. What I'm also doing is, potentially, people might see my name, because I've tweeted 551 times, so that may give people an opportunity to engage with me, or for me to engage with them. So, whilst you guys are in the room today, if you want to get your name out there, tweet, live tweet. And it doesn't need to be about you, okay? You can tweet about how the speakers have been amazing. You can tweet about how Lenka has been amazing. You can tweet about how Anne-Marie is amazing with her illustration at the back. You can tweet about how amazing Tim is doing his photography. There's so many things that you can tweet about to get your name onto Twitter. And remember, we need to see ourselves between brands, consumers need to see brands between 7 and 30 times before they even consider whether they're going to engage with you, whether they're going to buy from you or anything like that. So we have to work really, really hard to get our name out there. Okay, does that make sense? So there's a reason why you're tweeting. You're tweeting Cambridge Social Day because you're sharing the love. You're tweeting Social Day as gratitude because it's an amazing conference. You tweet Social Day to get your brand out there. That's why you're doing it. So if you can tweet, and a lot of you can, get tweeting. Tweet as much as you can. If you're not sure what to say, retweet. Okay? And if you're not sure what to say, compliment somebody. I've seen your tweets. I think you're amazing. The food was amazing. You can talk about anything. Is it making sense? Yep. And then hopefully you can beat me off the Twitter charts. No, I'm only kidding. That's not going to happen. Twitter chats. We talked about Twitter chats a lot today. And we can either host one or we can be a part of one. So when I first came back to the country 2 years ago, didn't know anybody because I kind of lost, I've been in Australia for 6 years, so I had to get my name back out on Twitter again. And so I got involved in Twitter chats. I had a quick look, see who was tweeting. There are a few articles out there, if you Google it, we love Google, and they'll tell you what Twitter chats are knocking around. They don't, some of them may not be active, but we mentioned one today, Go With The Pro, that's on tonight, yeah? So get involved in it. And if if you're a bit shy, just listen, just read them, just retweet them to begin with, okay? Now, believe it or not, I can be shy at times. I know people don't believe me, but sometimes with some Twitter chats, I'll just listen and I'll retweet. And I might like it, give a little heart, give a little love. And then when I'm feeling a bit braver, then I might get into the conversation. Okay, but no one's going to hurt you if you say, I really like your tweet, thank you for sharing. Are they? So, get involved in Twitter chats. Now, when you get involved in Twitter chats and get active, the next level up is you can actually get asked to be a host. So someone put on LinkedIn, does anyone know anybody who can talk about Twitter communities? I got tagged left, right, and centre. Very flattering. It was great. So I got to do a Twitter chat in June early this year, developing a Twitter community. Again, there's a typo in there, for successful business and personal brands. So the next level up is hosting a Twitter chat, and it means that everyone will get to see your name, which is pretty awesome. Now, there is a Twitter chat called MNC Hour. They're on a Wednesday, 8 o'clock, and they're for mumpreneurs. Now, I tweeted them and I said, are you going to judge me because I'm not a mum? And they said, no, come on in. So I got involved in the Twitter chat, and eventually I got, because I was helping quite a bit, they gave me a star, which is pretty cool. And they asked and they encouraged people to follow me because I won the Twitter chat that day. They're an amazing bunch, and they support each other. So if you want to learn more about social media or learn about business or learn about tea, there's a tea hour on a Tuesday, then you can get involved, and it's just an hour of your time every week. Be consistent, though. That is something that Andrew and Pete talked about. show up every week if you can, to establish your brand. That's what I did at the start. SM Besties is probably one of the longest running hashtags. So if you search on SM Besties, you'll see there's about 40 people all around the world just getting to know each other. And that's all it is. We talk a little bit about business now and again, but it's just about, being in business can often feel like the loneliest place on the planet, can't it? But it doesn't need to be. We've got friends. We all have friends online, and SM Besties are definitely my set of friends. Who wants more publicity for their business? Anybody? Who wants to be on TV, radio, national magazines? Anybody? No, there's a guy, but no, I don't think so. Okay. So on Twitter, if you go to the search button and search on journal request. Search on PR request. Every day, journalists will actually go onto Twitter, and they only go onto Twitter, okay? And they will ask for, I'm looking for, looking for someone who can talk about ABC, okay? And you can go in and proactively look for those opportunities, and respond to them, okay? Now read the tweet carefully. If they ask you to DM you, send a private message, then do it. If they ask you to email you, do it in that way. There's no point tweeting them if they said, send me an email, and you go and tweet them, because they've given you specific instructions. So it's all about listening, okay? And when you build your community to the point where other people are recommending you, that's where the magic happens. So as I mentioned, I'm not saying this to show off, just a little bit, about being on TV and radio. Okay, I've been back in the country 2 years, been on TV, been on radio twice, and all those opportunities came because someone tagged me and said, you need to talk to Making Tea. So that's the next level up. But you need to work really hard in order to get yourself known. Okay, this was me at part of the Great British Tea Off. That was me, Mary Beret. It's one of the judges. It's pretty cool. Okay, now, when you build your relationships on Twitter, you can take it to the next step and send a private message, okay? We've all used Facebook Messenger before. Yeah, so Twitter, you've got your direct messages. Direct messages are awesome because you've got 10,000 characters to play with in one tweet. How cool is that? It's pretty awesome. So, there have been people that I want to collaborate with. There have been people who've approached me to get me some work, and they've sent me a private message. So I've been, these all happen to be tea related, but I have had requests for social media and that kind of stuff as well. So use direct messages to build relationships. Maybe there's someone you met today and you want to know about them a little bit more. Say, can we take this offline? Can you send me a direct message? Now, the biggest mistake I did in Australia, I was there for 6 years, was I didn't measure, okay? Got quite a bit addicted to social media, went on for, 3-4 hours of the day, trying to help other people because I'm a people pleaser, and I liked that people were commenting this, that, and the other, lost a husband over it, lost immigration battle over it, but I came back to the UK. I was a bit more strategic and more focused. I cannot be a people pleaser anymore. People pleasing does not pay bills, okay? So what I did was I measured what I put out there to see if it was working. Because the majority of my followers 6 years ago were from Australia, when I came back to the UK, I had to try and shift my focus and shift my conversation so that my audience is now UK-based. That makes sense? So I went on to Twitter Analytics to see that, okay, on a regular basis to see if the shift was happening. So use Twitter Analytics, amazing tool to look at where you are tweeting, where it's most effective. In Australia, for example, they get up at silly o'clock in the morning, and I mean silly o'clock. It's like 3, 4 in the morning, okay, and they go to bed at 9. So there's no point tweeting at 10 o'clock. They've all gone to bed. But in the UK, my following, they get up at 7, 6 o'clock, and then they go to bed at midnight, 1 o'clock. So I can tweet throughout that day. There's no point tweeting at 6 o'clock because everyone's making their dinner, okay, making the tea if you're from up north. So, you need to measure your tweets and see if it's going well. Okay, these are a couple of tools that I use on a regular basis. Sumall, SUMALL.com, will send you an email and tell you how well you are doing. Now, I've got 8,900 followers on Twitter at the moment. I'm not saying that to show off. What I'm saying is, though, when I tweet, it can reach a following of between 750,000 and 6 million people, which is pretty cool. Now, if 1 week the reach is down, I need to find out why. Is it because I'm not engaging it much? Is it because I'm not engaging at the right times? Is it a public holiday? I need to figure those things out and decide what I'm going to do. Tweetsmap is another one, a great tool, again, for showing where your tweets are hitting, which countries, okay, and which ones are most effective. So they send you a T-mail every week, and also you can schedule your tweets from there as well. So if anybody uses scheduling tools like Buffer and Hootsuite, if this then that, IFTTT, ttt.com. Tweetsmap is another one that you can use as well. Okay, video. People talked about video. Anybody use video for their branding yet? A few of us. A few of us are a bit scared, aren't we? We're a bit scared. Oh, we're looking stupid. And it's been quoted before. Cisco said by 2020, 75% of the mobile traffic is actually going to be video. So if we get good at it now, we're going to be professionals come 2020. And so you can use tools like Clipomatic to put captions, put subtitles at the bottom of it. So, you know, just really engage. It just enables you to connect with your community a little bit more when you do video. Don't worry about your ers and your rs, your human tics. I do it all the time. When you get into the practice of doing it, you get better, okay? And it shows that you're human anyway. Use a Periscope. I use Periscope quite a bit, so that's Twitter Live. So this is live video before Facebook Live was a thing. Periscope's brilliant for me because when you tweet on Periscope, you've got two sets of audiences, people who are purely dedicated to Periscope and people who just use Twitter. So one tweet goes out to two audiences. How cool is that? That's pretty awesome, isn't it? I don't just talk about myself, even though it looks like I do. The one at the bottom here is when I went to Sheffield, Hacienda Classics. So you know the 90s dance music, Black Box Ride on Time, do you remember that? I was dancing and bopping away, and I thought I'd do a bit of a Periscope and show that, bit of reminiscent of the 90s. I'm a 90s girl. So, you know, do quick videos of stuff. You may have seen me interviewing a few people today, you know. It's really interesting information. People want to know who you are. You are a TV station, believe it or not. You are a brand, and people want to tune into you. If they like you, give them more of a video. This is me being a bit personal now. So it was International Mental Health Week a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to do a video to say, if you struggle, please ask for help. If you know someone who's struggling, pick up the phone and ask them. Because I got a lot of support, people asking me questions, and so I actually went into a space that I haven't visited in 4 or 5 years. I actually cried. I actually cried on the video. Try not to cry. Unexpected divorce, unexpected immigration battle in Australia, and I lived in a place that was rat infested, cockroach infested. Drug users were constantly knocking on my door, couldn't afford to pay the rent, and I did have a suicidal thought. I watched a TV program, it actually saved my life. And I just wanted to mention that, so I did that on video. And what was great was that I got this wealth of support, so I tried not to cry. And it inspired another person to actually do a video, and they talked about their story. And so this story went round and round and round around the world to try and encourage people to end the stigma about mental health. It was amazing. It was so, so cool. So you can, if you want to show your vulnerability, please do. If you don't feel comfortable with it, that's okay too. We're not here to judge you, we're all friends together. But it just shows the human side of you, and it's really powerful for your brand. Now, this is a new feature, which is podcasting. So, you know, if you're having a bad hair day, you know, but you want to do a video, don't do the video. You can do audio. I haven't tested it, but Twitter's launched it early this year. Pretty cool. So it was mentioned in Business Insider, just to get your name out there, you know, get some information out there. So try that. I want you to take away 3 things today. I want you to establish your authority on Twitter. Get your brand out there, get known, speak in the way that you speak with your brand, help people as much as possible, share a lot of great information, share your own information, establish your authority. You can get known by getting involved in a community, by building your own. Use a Twitter chat or get involved in other people's Twitter chats and build that community, build that following to the point where people recommend you and your services. When people say, I'm looking for a graphic designer, I'm looking for a photographer, looking for a videographer, you want to be that person that people recommend. And then finally, please, please, please measure your Twitter statistics to see if it's working. And if it's not working, try something different. My name has been Making Tsang. My business is Making Tea. Let's stay connected. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes? Yes, it's working. I would just like to say, can we please give another round of applause to Making?
Oh, stop it.
Not only for her amazing talk about Twitter, but also for all her amazing tea puns, but mostly for her openness and honesty and just being really, really genuine with all of us here and just showing that it's okay not to be perfect, that it's okay to struggle because we all do at some point. So thank you for that. That was absolutely touching and I loved your talk. And now we have another break. There is more sweets outside to keep you going because we have a little bit more to go. And in a bit we will see Tim over here on this stage talking about organic Facebook. Is Facebook dead or not? Or alternatively, you can go to room 2 and learn all about LinkedIn. So I see you soon. Have a great time. Enjoy some sweets.